Alright everyone, today we're going to be making the snap plunger tube, which is one of the most important parts in your snap that you're building. And I'm going to go over the tools that I mostly use first. One of the major most important tools is your handheld drill. Another important tool is of course your screwdriver, and I don't know why I have a pair of pliers up here, but there they are. And a pair of Sharpies, your architectural ruler. This is one of those three-sided deals. This is very, very useful for making snaps. I recommend everyone pick one up. They're about $11 or so. Let me put these stuff away while I talk about it. You're going to need your 632 tap and your tap handle. You're going to need 3 different drill bit sizes. You're going to need a 1/8 inch drill bit. This is what you're going to drill your nail hole with. Let me see, what is this again? It's a 7/64 bit for your tapping, a 1/16 drill bit for your pilot holes, a pair of scissors, and a good knife, either a small razor blade or a big one. Some optional tools are, a PVC reamer. I find this to be very useful, and I've actually specially made a PVC marking guide. This is so I can mark out different quadrants and angles on PVC. This is very useful, and I'll show you guys how we use it in a second. Now, some adhesives that you'll need packaging tape, and you will need plumber scoop. Now, for the actual materials that we're going to be working with today, we're going to need our pre-made snap trigger that we just made, our 1 inch to 1/2 inch bushing. I prefer the round type without the cavity. I get these at Lowe's, and they just seem like they're the most solid, and they work the best, and they have a nice lip on the inside to mount with. You're going to need 12.5 inches of 1 1/4 inch PVC. I personally enjoy Silverline, which is also from Lowe's. They just seem to be a little bit nicer PVC. I mean, I don't know if that really constitutes anything, but I like Silverline. You're going to, of course, need your drawing jig, which is just marking your quadrants on PVC. I drew that with my big, I'll reach over here and show you guys what I drew that with a large circle drawer that most drafters use. And that can help you mark out lines on PVC and such. And I just took this, laid it on there, and I made different quadrants out, so that way I can just slide this on the PVC. It fits on there like a glove. It's made from a coupler. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it slides right on, and then you can mark everything on it with the lines. You're going to need, we're also going to go over the mounting the trigger. We're going to need 5 of our 3/8 length 6/32 bolts, and then we're going to need a single 1/4 inch 6/32 bolt. And you'll also need hot glue, and that'll just be for temporary mounting. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the fabrication now. Alright guys, we're going to start by taking our plunger tube and marking out the quadrant marks that I like to make, which are kind of hard to explain. Basically what I'll do is I'll take my special jig. Here's a close-up on it for you. As you see, it's got perfect 90-degree angles all the way around it. And I take that and I slide it on, right on. And I use this tool every time I make a snap. It just helps make sure all my lines are super lined up and everything. Like, grab my fine point Sharpie. And what I'll do is I'll mark off my 90-degree points. And I usually like to line up the lettering on the bottom. Like, I like to line up the lettering with a line. I don't know, it's just an OCD thing that I have when I'm building snaps. So what we'll do is we'll take and we'll make a small mark with our fine point Sharpie on every single quadrant. Messed up there. There we go. Kind of have to look at it right in front of you to be able to get those lines straight. Alright, and then you take your quadrant marker off, or you can leave it on actually, as I'm going to mark out. I mark off the first 4 and I actually have a secondary set of 90-degree marks, and I'll mark those off as well with a smaller dot. And those will be for later on when we're marking our stock. Because we offset our stock at the end so that you don't get face rape from it. Alright. I mark these as the important ones. Alright, so then we've got our major 90-degree points, and we take our architectural ruler and we hold it flat against the plunger tube, because these rulers, they will set right on this plunger tube and have a perfectly parallel line front to back. They'll snap right on there. You just hold them on there, and then you want to make your line all the way from front to back. Ooh, got a little wiggly there. And go over a couple times and you'll be left with that, which is a perfect line along the side of the PVC. And we'll keep doing that all the way around our dominant 90-degree marks. Now this isn't all necessary. You can just cram your bushing in there and do it that way if you want. But this is how I line everything up perfectly, because I'm kind of a perfectionist with snap bows. And this thing isn't marking. Let me just scribble this out a little bit. I don't know, my Sharpies tend to like to clog up on me. It's kind of weird. There it is. And there, as you see, we've got perfect 90-degree marks here, and then another one here. And we'll keep going around, and I'll actually cut the video here and complete the rest of them, and I'll show you guys how it'll look when we're done. Alright guys, now we're going to decide which end of the plunger tube we want to be the front, and I say I want this one to be the front. So I'm going to go ahead and put a big F up front so that I know it's the front. And I always treat the lettering side as the bottom of the snap. Now that's just a way for me to keep track of snaps altogether. I always treat the lettering as the bottom side. It's just a thing for me to keep track of. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler on your bottom 90-degree mark, and you're going to measure 8.5 inches back from the very edge of this. Line it up, and you put a mark at, let me see if I can get this on camera, at the 8.5 inches mark. Yeah, that's pretty good. And that is where your trigger hole is going to be drilled. And so I usually write TR or trigger or something like that next to it. And next we're going to make our bushing mount screws. We're going to mark those so they're all even all the way around. And what we do is we take our ruler again on the bottom, and we mark 3/4 of an inch back. Let me make sure I'm right on that. Yeah, I'm right. With this particular bushing, I mark 3/4 of an inch back all the way around on each 90-degree mark. So we get one right there, and I like to mark those B. And we line it up again on the next 90-degree mark and mark another 3/4 inch intersection, and we mark that as B again. And we line another one up and mark that again at 3/4 of an inch. We mark that as B as well, and then we do the last one here the same way. And there it is. And there. And then there's another B. Alright, so for the majority, we have our plunger tube marked out for now. When we get into mounting the stock, we'll put some more holes in it, but this will get it into a semi-functional state for now, and then we'll move on to, I'll go ahead and show you guys how we're going to mount the bushing in this particular snap. So what you're going to need next is you're going to need your packaging tape, and you're going to need your bushing, and we're going to do that in a separate segment. Alright guys, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our bushing, and we are going to wrap the back portion, not the ridge here. We're going to wrap this in packaging tape so that it fits nice and snug in the front here. You can see how wobbly this is and everything. So we're basically just going to take this, and we're going to just keep wrapping and wrapping for a little while. Just wrap it like so. You want to make sure there are no air bubbles in this, because that can throw off your bushing straightness. And this is a very long process for me, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here, and you guys can figure it out. I personally like to use E-tape because it doesn't stay as straight. So I'll show you guys when we get back, when I have a fully wrapped bushing that is tight in that plunger tube, and you're going to need to trim it and add more, take off less as you need to, until it fits nice and snug. Think of it like a dart, like a push fit dart. So I'm going to wrap this and I'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, so here's our bushing that has got a bunch of packaging tape on it. It takes quite a while to get it like this, and you got to make sure you don't get any air bubbles in this. You want it to be a nice perfect wrap. And what you're looking for is you're looking for a nice, kind of like it'll just push in, but it's very snug, as you can see. Very low tolerances in between, and it takes a little bit of force to pull out, but not a ton of force. Now we're going to cut off the back here. I like to use a nice sharp X-Acto blade for this. Watch your fingers, kids, because this thing will cut the piss out of you, as it has me many times. Lost the blade. Alright, well, while I put the blade back on, I'm going to explain why we use packaging tape instead of electrical tape like the original write-up. Packaging tape is much thinner and there's much less overlap line. So what this does, it allows your bushing to be straighter and go in snugger and a little smoother. And I think it just is a little better overall, personally. But I guess you could use E-tape if you really wanted. But I definitely prefer packaging tape, as it's much wider and it can cover the whole area of the bushing here. Rather than E-tape, you'd have to put like 2 separate pieces and cut it off. So what we do next is we slide it into our front here. Just slide her on in. Good and tight. Doesn't have to be like crammed in there, but just like good and flush with all the edges. So then we take our hand drill with our, let me see if I can grab the dang thing, our 16th inch bit, and then we go ahead and tighten our 16th inch bit in there. We drill into all the B marked bushing holes as straight as you can. Now remember, guys, drills are dangerous and they will hurt you. I've gotten, why am I unchucking it? I've gotten hit by drill bits many, many times. And it hurts. So please be careful. If you have one of those anti-cut gloves, I recommend it. I personally probably need one at this point, as many times as I've injured my hands. Alright, now that we have our 16th inch holes drilled in the bushing, we'll go ahead and drill a 16th inch hole where our trigger mark was. And we'll pop a little 16th inch hole there. This one needs to be pretty straight along that 90-degree mark line. And then we unchuck our 16th inch bit, and I'm going to go ahead and drill the trigger hole. This will be the only time we use our 1/8 inch bit. And we'll go ahead and pop a hole where the trigger was. So there you see, there's a trigger hole right there. Now for up front of the bushing, we're going to use our 7/64 bit. And we'll go ahead and drill all those holes here. And be just following up where you drilled the 16-inch holes. It just ensures that you get a nice straight cut through them. Alright, so we'll unchuck that from our drill, and we'll clean out any little particles we may have left in the holes. And then we will take our 632 tap, and we will slowly put it in and twist it like so. And this will actually, as I've told you guys before, will actually cut threads into the PVC for our little bolts here. And every once in a while you want to back it out and clean off the PVC chips. As you can probably see right here, you see some PVC chips on there. Just give those a quick wipe off, and you just keep going on in. Now I'm going to stop the video here again. I'm going to tap all these 4 holes because this will take quite a little bit of time. And then I'll get back to you guys in a few seconds. Alright guys, now that we have our holes all tapped out for 6/32, what we're going to do is we're going to make a mark on our bushing. Say right here, and then the same mark on the plunger tube. This way, whenever we pull the bushing out to mount it, or rather to goop it in, we make sure we put it in the same place so we can line up all the holes the same way, because they're likely slightly different by a few millimeters either way. So we'll go ahead and pull this out. See, as I told you guys, it's a pretty snug fit. Okay. And you see we've got our 6/32 tap all the way through there. And we're going to take some of our plumber's goop and screw the cap. Man, this cap is like dried on there. And we're going to put a small bead around the bottom here. Like so. You don't really need a whole lot to seal the bushing, and this actually is going to overflow. We'll have so much, but that'll play to favor whenever we go to thread our screws in. So we figure out where our line was that we marked, and where's that line? There it is. We go ahead and we push it straight on in. You see how we're getting a little overflow there? That'll help seal the front of the bushing there. And we push it in, and we twist it, make sure our holes are good in a line. Use your thumb if you need to. And there she is. You see we're getting some overflow now, starting to drip down. Just take your finger and wipe around the bushing. You'll leave a little edge of goop, but that's fine. And this is why I actually keep toilet paper on my desk, is so I can wipe my finger off right here whenever I get a bunch of goop or something on it. And it's a nice disposable little towel. So there's that. Ooh, knocked the camera tripod. But do the same thing, just keep cleaning it up a little bit. Okay. That's good and clean for me. We'll clean it up a little more later on, but I'm not messing with it anymore for now. I'm just going to dry my hands off and put this back off to the side. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to put the actual screws in. We're going to take our thing of goop again. Just open it. Don't even need to squeeze any out. And you need to just dip your threads into the very little bit of goop, just so you get a little bit on there. And then you go ahead and you put them in there. Now with the screw in there and it's got a little bit of goop, it'll completely seal up the plunger tube. So we'll go ahead and screw this sucker in. And by this point I have my hot glue gun heating up so that we can do our temporary mount for our trigger in a second. And I'll go ahead and put the rest of these in. Now when we go to put on our trigger, it's pretty important that we put it on nice and straight, so that we don't get like a lopsided trigger when we go to pull it. And this is time consuming, I realize, guys, but I'm not going to cut the video right here because I just want to show you guys every little bit. I like having work shirts so I can just wipe the crap on my shirts. That way I don't have to worry about always having a towel on me, especially for little bits of goop and stuff like that. Which is why you guys always see me wearing crappy shirts in my videos, because all my crappy shirts are covered in goop and super glue and solvent weld and all sorts of garbage. And a lot of them have JB weld on them, which I don't really use much of anymore. Oop. Dip it back in there and thread the last one in there. I don't know if you guys, there it is. And we'll just snug those down tight. They don't need to be super cranked down tight. But we'll go ahead and screw these in. And I'm going to wait for my hot glue gun to heat up, and then we'll put this in here, like so. But for now, I'm going to just keep wiping off little bits of goop off this. And I'm going to go ahead and cut, and then we'll go on to mounting the trigger when my hot glue gun is heated up. Alright guys, now that we have everything all screwed in up front and I have my hot glue gun heated up, we're going to go ahead and mount our trigger. Now, note that our trigger now hasn't been cut down at all, and we still can't open our trigger. That will be taken care of in the next video when I show you guys how to put your plunger rod in and cut your nail. But for now, we're just going to slather the kind of upper section where it's going to be actually connected to the blaster in some hot glue. Now this is purely temporary. Well, it could be either temporary or it could be moderate, but it's not actually a structural part of the blaster. This is just kind of a support. You just slather the top of it, and be careful because hot glue is hot. And you place your nail in the hole that we drilled, and you press it in, and you get the clothespin nice and snug against your blaster. You make sure it's good and centered, and you'll look down the front of it, and you'll make sure that your trigger is straight up and down relative to your bolts. Let me see, like so. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but there it is. And we wipe off a little bit of excess glue on the outside. And then I usually like to trim off the excess glue on the outside with a knife, and remember, be very careful. And it should just peel right off. And do the same on the other side. Alright, that's good and peeled enough for me for now. Now what we do is we're going to take, this is why I had the pliers out, we're going to take our pliers and we are going to pull this half of the clothespin apart by just pulling this pin out here. And then we're going to pull the top part of our clothespin out, the part with the nail in it, leaving only the bottom portion here intact. And then we're going to take our hand drill once more with a 7/64 bit. I usually don't even drill pilot tier. And you put one right here in the clothespin, right in the middle there, where the jaw kind of part is, where it would usually grip the clothesline. Try to get it nice and centered as you can. Blow off the excess. Do the same back here. Try to get nice and centered if you can. And then we're going to tap both these holes. Same deal. Make sure it's going all the way through. Then back it out. Back it out. This takes quite a bit of time. Alright, clean off all the crap, and then you go to the back hole and you tap that out as well. Alrighty. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our knife, and you see this little ridge inside the clothespin here? That gets in the way of our bolt going in that hole. So I usually cut it down a little bit. And be very careful, as I said before. Knives hurt. Usually a lot. And just cut it, keep cutting it down a little bit by little bit. And until it's flush with the bottom there. And sometimes you can take a Dremel and you can kind of Dremel that part down. And then we're going to actually put our screws in. We're going to take our 3/8 screw that we have left. We're going to put it in the front portion of the clothespin. And we're going to tighten that down. Good and tight. And we're going to take our 1/4 inch long bolt that we have left, or bolt screw, I keep on calling them different things, and we're going to go ahead and thread that in the back, like so. And that is how you mechanically attach a clothespin. Now, I clean out some of the crap on the inside so you guys can see. There is still some bolts sticking up through the top, but we will take care of that in the next episode. And you can go ahead and put your clothespin back together if you really want to. And go ahead and pop the clothespin back together. And that is your plunger tube and trigger assembly. We still need to do some tweaking, but we're going to do the tweaking with the nail length and the plunger rod setup in the next video. I hope you guys liked it. The next one will be in a few days, so quit asking me, everyone. The next video about how to build this will be out in a couple days. Oh, excuse me. But that's basically it. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're so inclined, and I will talk to you guys later. Hey everyone, one last thing today. Rogue on NerfRevolution.com is selling t-shirts for their website. One of them is going to have a pump step on them, which I'd gladly send them a picture of. So if you'd like one of those t-shirts, go ahead and follow the link below, and I guess I'll throw one up right here as well. So that's the last thing, guys. Enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you guys later.